Well, hi everybody. It's Steve Tarter, another edition of Tartar Sauce, and happy to present Rockie Zeigler III on our show. Rockie, we've done this before
Yep.
when I was at the paper. Uh, you are a financial planner.
Yep.
Been in Peoria, lifelong Peorian.
Not lifelong. I've been
Not
here
lifelong.
20 years. I grew up in Normal.
Okay.
But I've been here, or almost
Close enough.
19
Central
years, whatever.
Illinois,
Yeah.
longtime resident.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it interesting, and our first meeting, you wrote a book.
I did, yeah.
Was it 2 years ago? When was your first book?
So, yeah, it was published in September of last year.
Okay.
Yep. So, I wrote it basically the majority of 2018, published it in September. So.
And that was an interesting book because it wasn't about, I mean, you're in the finance business, but it wasn't about what stocks and bonds to buy. It was about you and Peoria and just
Yeah, it was mainly just, I'll be 39 this year. I just kind of wrote some life lessons I've learned. Nothing too, there aren't any bombshells in there, anything like that. But
what, Facebook wasn't good enough for you?
yeah, I know, right?
You had to
I
write
guess
a
I
book.
could have just gone on there, but yeah, no, just some life lessons, some things I picked up that I thought maybe someone might read and pick up a thing or two.
And now you got a new book. What's the new book called?
So the new book's called Mutual Funds Are So 1999.
What are you trying to say there?
Well, really what I'm trying to say is so mutual funds are fine. It's not like an anti-mutual fund book, but there are some other options out there called exchange-traded funds or ETFs, folks may have heard of, that I think in a lot of cases present a little bit better option for folks. And so that's really what the book is about. So it's totally different than the first one.
And mutual fund, and I told Rocky, I said we probably don't want to get into all the details.
Yeah, we don't have to get in the weeds and all that.
But that's a good subject. But mutual funds kind of have that sort of, well, that's what everyone does.
Yeah, they're wildly popular, and for good reason. They've been around since the 20s, as a matter of fact, and it's a good way to gain some diversification with your investments in one fell swoop, essentially.
And you've got these huge companies that've got it all set up for
Correct.
it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's easy to drop right in on.
They're in almost everyone's 401k. In fact, I've yet to see one that does not have any does not have any mutual funds in it. So, chances are most of the folks listening probably have owned one or currently do at some point.
Now, how long have you been in that finance business?
12 years, if you can believe it.
12 years. And you are independent.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I got my own firm out in North Peoria.
And what is your thought there? I mean, you don't have to mention where you used to work or whatever if you like, but why is it better to be independent?
In my opinion, it's because I wrote the book because I have an investment philosophy, okay? And most advisors that I've found, while they may have a philosophy, they don't have it written down so that the general public can see it. So that was a big part of why I wrote the book, was I just wanted to put out there what I believe in, backed up by research and things of that nature. It's hard to do that, or nearly impossible to do that under the umbrella of a larger investment firm that most folks have heard of.
So who are, and you don't have to break this all down, but in general, who are your clients? Folks around here?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's almost entirely Central Illinois people. I'd say if I were to break it up, it's probably 60 to 65% folks in Peoria. Probably 30, maybe 35% are in the Peoria area, Metamora, Low Point, Washington, Washburn, Morton, things like that. I have a few that have moved to different parts of the country, but mainly folks around here. Yeah.
What do you find? Is it a sales job that you need to do a lot of the time, or that's probably constant, isn't it? You have to get your name out there.
Yeah, it's a good question. In the beginning, it's definitely a sales job. When I first started, I had a very small base of clients, and so I was doing quite a bit of selling myself, if you will. Now it's more of, now that I've, I guess, established myself to a certain extent, it's more of a financial planning, investment analysis kind of business. So I'm enjoying it a lot more now, just than I was in the beginning, just because I don't have to go out and go door to door like I used to to get new clients.
Oh no, it's that guy from the financial thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt like they all said. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Now, the book writing, this is obviously something you like to do. You like to write. Because I know you have, I get your email and you have a sort of, is it weekly, or how often does that go out? Monthly?
I wish it was more scheduled than it is. It's just sort of sporadic.
Kind of a newsletter kind
Correct,
of thing.
yeah. It's a blog, and it's mainly about, it's about half what I would consider life lesson, motivational, thoughts I'm having about life, and then it's other half is going to be more investment, financial planning related.
And keep people up to date with trends.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe what do you find is necessary to steer people away from I guess is it right to say the financial media, because you've got Wall Street Journal and the TV operations cranking out the daily routine of what's going on in China, what's going on in Europe, blah blah blah. What do you study? What do you look at?
Well, I read a lot of financial blogs from other advisors, from portfolio managers, from institutions. I watch a little bit of what you like, the CNBCs, the things of that nature. But most of what I do is I read a lot of research papers. So from investment institutions, from investment companies, from other financial advisors. That's really where I get most of it from.
And how competitive a field is that in this market?
It's real competitive. It's very competitive. So there's a lot of different types of folks that are offering investments or advice or financial planning. It's been competitive ever since I've been in the business. We've got quite a few large brokerage firms here. There's I don't know this for sure, but I would guess there's actually more independent folks doing it than big name firms around here.
Is that unusual? Because if you go into other towns, would you find that same percentage?
It kind of depends. Like Morton, for example, definitely has more independent folks than big name brokerage firms. Peoria, it might be closer to 50-50, but if you include the whole area, I've found there's a lot more. Ever since I've been independent for almost 7 years now, and I found that there's a lot more independent folks out there than I realized ever since I've become independent myself.
When you look at what's going on in the financial world today, what strikes you? I mean, is it up, down? I mean, how do you look at? Somebody said, "Well, Rocky, you're in the business. How are things going?" I mean, how do you look at what's going on now as we're sitting almost in August?
Yeah. So we've had a stock market wise, we've had a fantastic 2019 thus far. It's been a very good year. The economy seems to be on solid footing. The economic forecasts that I see are pretty positive as well. You mentioned the media earlier. It's tough because I think a lot of times if you consume enough financial media, TV, radio, whatever, it might feel the opposite. And that's what I found with everyday folks is.
And why is that?
I just think it's because negativity sells a lot, and also there's so much going on day to day. And if you think about, the major TV or major TV stations, for example, they're on there 24/7, and so they have to fill that time.
Right.
And so, whatever Trump said or whatever headline came out or anything, there's 80 people on there analyzing it every day, and they're all screaming at each other, and one person's right and one person's wrong. And so there's a lot of, this happened, and then there's 8 people interpreting and trying to forecast what may happen. And that's where the trouble, at least the frustration for me is.
And I know just from going online, without going into the financial area, but you're just looking at a regular website, Yahoo, whatever it is, there's always something on the bottom. Why you need to get out of the stock market now?
It's exactly
sort of a red flashing red lights.
My whole career, I've gotten emails or calls here and there that say, "Hey, I just read this person said the Dow's going to 50,000," and then a week later, I'll get an email. This person said the Dow's going to 10,000, and so everyone's got a prediction. None of them have any clue in the world, where anything's going. So it's kind of a challenge to balance that out. Because, for me, too, I have to stay informed, and I do that. And I read financial media myself, and so I have to, remind myself every once in a while that this person doesn't know, where the markets are headed or the economy.
How do you look at Peoria and Peoria area? Basically a conservative investment group, or is it mixed, or you had a little chance to look at that?
Yeah, it just depends. Each person's different. I've found most pre-retirees or post-retirees tend to be a little more conservative in their approach, and for good reason. I understand that.
That's a pre-retiree.
Say someone who's a year or two away for retirement.
Oh, okay.
Someone who's thinking about it, and so because they have this large life event happening in the next couple of years, they tend to get a little more conservative with their investments because they're, that's just what's on their mind. It's a big life
Are
event.
people?
So.
I guess it depends. I mean, I'm sharing my age here, but retirement, is it still 65? I mean, is in your mind? Is it, or is that gone away?
So the Social Security Administration, for most folks, what they consider your full retirement age is 66. For me, it's 67.
Okay.
So I don't really have an age in mind necessarily. And retirement has really evolved, I think, in a good way. It's not I'm going to kick my feet up on the beach every day and have umbrella drinks. And, it's stuff like what you're doing. People are still involved. Some of them are still working part-time, or they're doing hobbies that they really enjoy, volunteering. So it's evolved, I think, over the last maybe 10 or 15 years.
And that is a good thing, because I know just lifespan expectancy, the wonderful advances made in healthcare, the fact that people are probably paying more attention to it.
Yeah.
We all need to do that more often, I guess. But it just seems like, now there's this time where you need to maybe do what you want to do.
Correct. Yeah.
Not just as you said, lay on the beach or whatever.
Yeah,
it is that,
I don't feel like retirement is an end point. I feel like it's a beginning point. So it's a transitional phase in your life that now you can finally do. You can do what you want to do without the constraints of a full-time job, basically. And so whatever that looks like for people is whatever that looks like for them. But I have folks who just kind of putz around the house and they're happy doing that. I have folks who are constantly doing things and traveling and involved in this group and that group. And so it just sort of depends on what
the individual.
Yeah, exactly.
You might, because I know you're very involved with the whole Central Illinois, and you're very positive about that. But Peoria, and I think we're going to get into this in a later podcast with the Amdals. That's a subject that I think has come up before, that this area, not just Peoria, Central Illinois, could be a really cool retirement area.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah,
it's
I
got the
think so,
health
too.
care. That's sort of like a big one. But I guess maybe there's something else we need to do. But what do you think of that?
I would agree with you. I think it's a very good place to retire. It's a good place to live, period, in my opinion. And I feel like there's a lot of Illinois has almost become like a running joke. I feel like I see memes on social media and stuff. And so, Peoria, Central Illinois gets lost in that. I've spent nearly my entire life in Central Illinois, and I love it here. I love living here. But there's a lot of good stuff to do. There's for a retiree or a non-retiree, for a 20-year-old or an 80-year-old. I think there's a lot of good stuff to do.
And at least for now, Illinois doesn't tax retirement income.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's one of the few states that doesn't do that.
Correct. Yep.
So I mean, we have that. I guess that's not a counter to all the problems of the
No,
Illinois
but
budget.
it's something I feel like folks should know. Yeah, there's no tax on your IRA distributions, your pension, any sort of retirement account at all. So Illinois does not currently tax that.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it's going to be the case, but I'm surprised they haven't already.
It's at least come up in a bill or something.
Yeah,
because,
I haven't.
We all know Illinois is so desperate for
Yeah.
solving some of the financial problems. Is that a big problem for you and others in your business, dealing with the fact that we're in Illinois? I guess folks. Do you run into people that are saying, "Hey, I'm getting the heck out of here"?
Some, so I it's more of my age of folks is what I found, and they're going to Denver and Texas and North Carolina
Because of a job.
Because of a job, or just because they want a better, a little bit better weather, or they don't like winter, or folks that go to Denver like winter a lot, and so there's more. I guess there's more things
sports.
to do. Correct. Yeah. So, I found it's a lot of complaining. I do my share of complaining as well about the tax hikes and whatnot, but I'm not going anywhere, and most folks really aren't either. But yeah, there are some business opportunities, especially around here with CAT and State Farm and whatnot. Sending jobs to other states. A lot of folks are taking the advantage or taking the opportunity to go to a different state.
How do you look at? Obviously, you're dealing with, I would guess, and I think you've told me this in the past, you've got small businesses in your group, folks that rely on that for investment. Are you seeing more of that, of the small business being formed? Because I know there's a movement afoot, Peoria Innovation Alliance, I'm involved with them, that are trying to cultivate that, to promote that in Peoria, in the Peoria area. I say Peoria, I'm not excluding Morton and Pekin and all these places.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I have heard of some new businesses just in the last few weeks that I wasn't even aware of that have popped up around here. So I do think there's opportunity for businesses to locate here, to grow here. And again, if you look at the media, if you follow the national media, I mean, most folks would say, start a business in Illinois. Why would you want to do that? I mean, look at all the problems they have. And rightfully so, I get it. But I feel like we get kind of lost in that. And so there is a lot of opportunity here. And, you know, it's not just Caterpillar. There's OSF, there's RLI, there's Maui Jim, there's Bradley, there's ICC, there's large institutions here that a lot of folks forget about.
And of course, we're also seeing, and we're sitting here right now in a studio that's in downtown Peoria.
Yeah.
I think you made the comment, is there a single road that isn't being worked on right now?
Gosh.
But there is a lot of activity. Now we're seeing more activity in the downtown, even though many would disparage it as sort of a, downtown, it's not what it was, which is true. But there's signs of life.
Sure.
And that's got to be a part of that has to be encouraging.
And it's not just here. How long has it been since Schnucks went up out on North Knoxville? A couple years. So, Schnucks has a relatively new place here. I mean, there's out at Grand Prairie, I know there's a new pancake place going up right by the Starbucks there. So I don't know much about it. I just see the sign. There's
IHOP?
No, it's called the Pancake something.
It's a franchise?
I honestly don't know. If it is, I'm not familiar with it, but I've just seen the construction going on. There's a new taco.
They'll get in touch with us.
Oh yeah,
Get our name right.
Yeah, yeah.
Flapjacks
Probably all mad.
Incorporated.
Yeah, but no, there's a lot of stuff going on. I see there's a new Taco Bell going up on Big Hollow. So we're excited about the new Taco Bell going up. So.
Well, you mentioned tacos and everything. I took my granddaughter up to Main Street. We went to the museum, the Legos, and then we went back up Main Street. And I thought, this is a good time for her to kind of find out the Mexican ice cream place and the Mexican bakery, both of which are right there, not too far from Bradley.
Okay.
And both are great.
Yeah.
I think the Mexican bakery has found a niche, though. It's tacos.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a bakery
I'll have to try
item
that
or not.
sometime.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna have to try that.
They're doing
I've
it
never
right there in
been
the
there,
parking
so,
lot.
okay,
So
okay.
look for that. One of the things that you've done that I think is really kind of great is you really want to reach out and tell people your story, not just Rockie's story, but the story of someone who's happy here. Does that need to be told over and over?
I think so, and the reason is I feel like I keep harping back on this, but there's just so much bad news about Illinois all the time. Whether it's crime in Chicago, the high tax rate, whatever it is, it just seems like there's never. I never really see a positive article about Illinois. So I feel like we get lost in the mix. But I'm raising a family here. I've been here for almost 20 years. It is a very positive place. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I think that message needs to get out a little bit better.
We're talking, and we're running out of time, Rocky. But let's remind folks again. Rockie Zeigler, and your new book is?
It's called Mutual Funds Are So 1999.
And of course, some of us think 1999. Well, that was just yesterday, wasn't it? But that's sort of an inviting title. I think that's a good one, and let people know kind of check out what you're doing. And maybe if they get that book, they get your first one, which isn't about finance,
Correct.
but about
totally different.
Totally different. Oh, very good. Well, we've been talking with Rockie Zeigler, and Rocky, you have to come back and maybe give us, I don't know, a progress report on the economy, and also what's next to be 1999.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
All right, thanks.
On Tarter Sauce.
PeoriaLife.com